What's up, everybody? It is your boy Toxie Boyo, and I think it's time. I started watching My Hero a little while ago, and I just finished it. Well, at the same time that pretty much everybody else finished it, and so now that season 4 is over, I think it's time for me to talk about it. I've been putting it off because I've been trying to figure out how to say what I think and what I feel about the show, and how to not piss off the entire internet because I understand how vehement the My Hero community can be from time to time. But you know what? I'm just gonna go through it. It's the X Games outside my house, apparently. I'm just gonna go through it, and we're gonna just discuss the show from season 1 to season 4, and I'm just gonna say how I feel about it, and hopefully you don't get too angry about it. All right. So to preface, my friend Michael shouts out to you if you watch this video. He tried to get me to watch the show about a year ago. I didn't really get into it, and I tried again pretty much right when this whole quarantine thing started, and I was actually able to get through it. So I'll give the show credit for eventually actually hooking me in. But I've when I was watching it, I didn't like it right away. I thought the beginning was very slow, and I just wasn't really grasped right off the bat. As the season went on, though, I still didn't really get into it for a while because I didn't really think Deku was that interesting as a character. I hear a lot of people say that his sacrifice that he tried to make for Bakugo towards the beginning of the first season was supposed to be his call to action moment where he becomes a hero in his heart, right? But I don't really like that moment that much. I'm not gonna lie to you, uh, because not only did he create this problem that Bakugo is in now, but he doesn't do anything to actually help get him out of it. There's a lot of Naruto parallels, so I'm just gonna get the first one out of the way here. Naruto, at the beginning of the show, nearly got himself and Iruka killed by being manipulated into stealing the ancient scroll that had all those forbidden jutsu on it. Iruka was going to lose that fight, but Naruto mastered the Shadow Clone Jutsu and used it to win the fight. Deku nearly got Bakugo killed by the sludge monster by making All Might drop the bottles and releasing him vicariously, and then he attached himself to Bakugo and all that stuff. And then he threw a backpack at the sludge monster and accomplished nothing. And it was that moment that apparently causes All Might to realize that he needs to go beyond and push past what he thought his limits were and try to save Bakugo. Kind of makes All Might seem a little bit lame because he didn't try his absolute best right off the bat. He was hesitant because he thought maybe he would get hurt or he wouldn't be effective enough, but it took this little kid nearly getting himself killed to change his heart. So from where All Might's standing, now instead of saving one kid by defeating the sludge monster, I have to defeat two. Or I have to save two by defeating the sludge monster. I thought that was kind of weak. I'm sorry. I just didn't like that much. And then once All Might gives Izuku One for All, it's kind of I don't know. I kind of started feeling like Deku was kind of a Gary Stew, because it's we'll get to that eventually, but some high notes. I did like the entrance exam. I thought there were some pretty cool characters introduced, like Uraraka and Ida, who I didn't think I was going to like Ida at first, but he ends up becoming one of my favorite characters, so that's pretty cool. There was a very important and poignant first fight between Bakugo and Deku in this season, and I really appreciated that. Todoroki does this weird, half ice on his body with a red eye. That was kind of weird. Never shows up again. I felt like there were too many characters introduced really quickly over the course of the show. Take Soul Eater, for example. The central cast is a lot smaller, but each member of the central cast gets an entire episode devoted to them. There's the Maka and Soul episode, there's the Black Star and Tsubaki episode, there's the Kid, Liz, and Patty episode. They could have done 3 or 4 episodes. They could have extended the season. I know this is a manga thing, but whatever. They could have extended the season and made a couple episodes, 4 episodes that give a brief introduction to 5 characters or so, and then you have a nice introduction to the entire 1A class. I think that would have been a lot better, because you end up just not caring about most of the characters in the class. Also, how are all of these kids in the same class? A lot of them have worthless quirks. You would think that like 1A is reserved for like the top, like the cream of the crop, like the heroes that are probably gonna go the farthest. Whatever. The finale was pretty cool. I was looking forward to a lot more after that fight between All Might and Nomu. Overall, I would say that the first season showed potential for the show to grow, but I was not very enthralled or enraptured by the show. A word that's very important to remember as I continue is potential. I thought the show had a lot of potential. The sports festival is interesting. It kind of... Well, okay, we're on season 2 now, by the way. The sports festival was kind of interesting. It kind of further proves, though, that there's a lot of Naruto parallels, because it's a lot like the Chunin exams, because it happens in phases. Because the Chunin exams is a written exam, Forest of Death, and the tournament. And in the sports festival, there's the obstacle course, the cavalry battle, and the tournament. And I'll just probably go ahead and talk about a couple more of the parallels just to get out of the way. Because you have the main character, Izuku Naruto, who's different from a lot of other people. Quirkless, Jinchuriki, and a lot of people don't like him for it. He's not gonna... Whatever, he's got high hopes. Number 1 hero, Hokage. And then he gets a really cool, like, mentor figure, All Might, Jiraiya. There's the unconventional cool teacher with the eye powers, Kakashi and Aizawa. It's just... There's just a lot there, But I think that the whole Class 1B thing and the support class and the business class, all of that being introduced as a concept in the sports festival does a lot for the world building. It shows that the school is a school. Like there's more people in that building than just the 20 kids that we know and love. And I really appreciated that. Endeavor being introduced to the show is also very important to the world building, because it's like you have All Might, who's the number 1 hero. What about the number 2 hero? And how does the number 2 hero feel about being the number 2 hero? Is the number 1 hero the number 1 hero because of his power, because of his approachability, because of his his social appearance? What is it about these two characters that put them where they are? And I really think that that's very important, that a character like Endeavor exists. I don't like him at this point, but I'm glad he's there. It develops Ida and Shoto and Uraraka and Bakugo into some pretty cool characters, but those are pretty much the only characters that ever really get developed, which is unfortunate. But I mean, most people love Todoroki. Anyway, so that's cool. After this, you have the internships, which start to show more of the outside world, because we really only got to see the outside world through Deku's lens at the beginning of the series. So to see it just as it is very interesting. Although it makes me feel like the show taking place in a school is limiting, because this is the first of many times that the story will have to be moved off campus in order to make things happen. Not even really the first time, because the thing that happened at the USJ in the first season was off of the main campus, so they still have to take the events somewhere else in order for things to happen. And I don't really like that, because it just makes it seem like the show is limited or hindered by its own premise, and I don't really like that much. It also kind of begins a trend of arcs running from one to another too quickly, with like almost no downtime in between. Also, okay, I just want to point this out. This is a bit of an inconsistency in the show. In the entrance exam, Deku uses One for All and breaks his legs and his arm, and Recovery Girl heals him, no trouble. And then when he breaks his fingers, when he breaks his finger throwing the softball, she kisses him and he heals his finger. But that drains him, because it's like it uses your physical energy to heal your own wounds. But healing the finger fatigued him, but healing utterly shattered 75% of his body. He was just good. He was fine. That's kind of a bit of a nitpick, though, but it kind of bothered me when I saw it. I felt like folk howling as a concept should have been something that All Might told Deku about, because when you think about what folk howling is, it's Deku channeling One for All through his entire body to use it as like like a state of being, like a Kaioken type thing, right? Which is what All Might was doing. He was using One for All in his whole body. I don't really know if that's directly translated to the buff form, but he's using full cowling basically. So why didn't he tell Deku, hey, channel One for All through your whole body, not just through your hands or whatever, and you'll be able to use your powers. What the heck? You'll be able to use your powers more effectively. I feel like that probably should have been something that the mentor told his student, but otherwise we wouldn't have needed Gran Torino. So whatever. I like Gran Torino. Don't get me wrong. I really do like Gran Torino. Well, I'll get to that later. Season 2 also starts to introduce plot threads and then dropping them immediately. Like previous One for All users helping Deku in the sports festival when they broke him out of the trance from that one guy in 1B whose name I honestly cannot remember. I want to say Shinso. All Might using One for All 100% instantly. They never really talk about why he was able to do that. Gran Torino says he got the body for him, working for him, but according to flashbacks, no, he didn't. But that doesn't matter, I guess. One for All being improved by new wielders, because Deku hasn't done anything with One for All that All Might couldn't have. Now you could say I'm being unfair because this is still season 2, but we're coming up on season 5, and you could say shoot style is a thing that makes One for All new to Deku, but it's really not. Because are you gonna sit there and try to tell me that that All Might can't kick the air hard enough to knock somebody out? Come on, that doesn't make any sense. I feel like the Stain arc was very important, not just the fact that like it does help with the world building because there's anti-heroes and there's people that hate the heroes for what they actually are and what they pretend to be. Stain was a very interesting person. He went a long way to help develop Ida as a character, and him being involved in defeating him was also very important because he's trying to take up the Ingenium mantle and avenge his brother. That was all very cool, but they wasted the hell out of Stain. He was gone so quick. He had literal main arc villain potential. He could have been on the same level as Zabuza or Orochimaru, or he could have been on the same level as Grimmjow or Ashura, but no, 2 episodes and he's gone. That hurt my feelings. That really hurt my feelings. It also only really shows like Todoroki, Ida, Izuku, Uraraka, and Froppy at their internships, and pretty much nobody else. Like, there's a glimpse of what Mineta's doing and what Kirishima is doing, what Bakugo's doing, and what Yaomomo is doing, but they don't get nearly as much attention as the guys that fight Stain, and then Froppy, who gets an episode to herself, which I appreciate. I like Froppy. She's cool. What's her name? Asui. Asui? Sue. Her name's Sue. But it also doesn't really do anything to make me like Shigaraki or Kurogiri any more than I already did. So being like, maybe not first in command of the League of Villains, but like the face of the League of Villains, and then his right-hand man in Kurogiri, I just felt like they should matter, and they just really don't. Nothing about them really leaps out at me as these are interesting antagonists. These are foes that you should care about. And the League itself doesn't really do a whole lot of anything this season, because sure, there's the Nomu thing, and Endeavor gets involved in that, but it's just not a whole lot happens. The final exams arc is cool as a concept, but I don't think it should have been right after Stain. I felt like maybe that should be season 3's opening, because I don't know, it just felt kind of out of place. Like there was no lull between the Stain arc and the final exams. Like you would think that these kids need to mentally recover from what they've been through, and sure, it was only a couple of the kids in that class, but still, like, how do they feel about what they just went through? Can we take a little bit of time out to talk about that? I would like that. One for All. Whoops. All for One. I'm gonna make that mistake a lot, probably. Please don't hold that against me. All for One is cool because he his existence in the story is very important to All Might and to Deku, and it feels like he needs to exist. If Izuku's quirk is called One for All, there has to be something out there called All for One. So I'm glad that that exists. It's very important. Can't wait to see what happens with him. United States of Smash. Also, this finale sucked. This finale was really bad. Nothing happened. It wasn't good. I'm sorry. This was a bad finale. All right. That's all I had to say about season 2. Trust me, I start liking the show a lot more after this. Season 3. All right. I hope you haven't already disliked and left me death threats in the comments because I didn't like Shigaraki. Season 3 starts with a really nice, well-written, enjoyable filler episode. You know, the swimming episode, I like that. It kind of shows that the series, the anime, could benefit greatly from a little bit of downtime and some more good filler. Like, if there was, 3 filler episodes a season written at that same quality, I think the show would be paced extraordinarily well. But there isn't that, so I just can't. I'm sorry. It also continues to move too quickly from main arc to main arc, because right after that, boom, they're at camp. And like I said earlier, it shows that they need to continue to move the story off of school grounds in order to make these situations happen, which kind of raises the question, why do these situations keep happening? Because why does the school keep letting these kids go out and do things? Because this is just going to continue to happen. But whatever. I guess camp was cool enough. I didn't really care about Compress or anybody else that was there. Dabi is... Okay, the thing about Dabi and Toga and... Does Twice join then? I think Twice joins. I can't remember. But these new people that join the League of Villains because they respect Stain and his ideology are sitting here completely ignoring his actual ideology. They're letting Shigaraki manipulate them into doing things that Stain would not stand for, and none of them want to speak up about it. Not even Dabi. Dabi, who seems like he doesn't take shit from no one. But I guess maybe he does. That's fine, whatever. Also, I wanted to mention, Ida's hand is supposed to be, messed up after his fight with Stain, and Izuku's hand is supposed to be messed up after the sports exam, and his arm is messed up after fighting Muscular. And these scars are supposed to, remind them of, the growth that they need to have, but they don't. And Ida's supposed to have, less function in his hand after what happened to him, but that just kind of doesn't come up. It doesn't, it's it's brought up, and it doesn't matter. You can still see Izuku's scars, and mentally you remember that those scars represent the growth that he still has. But as far as I can remember, there's never, a point where he's having a fight and he, looks at his hand and he sees that scar and has a moment of self-reflection where he remembers, hey, I have this scar for a reason. I have to be better. I have to be smarter. I have to, I have to be more responsible with this gift I was given by All Might, my hero. My hero, Academia. So it just kind of feels like it's wasted development. I don't know. Maybe they will work on that later on, but up to where we are at, as far as the anime-only people, I will read the manga eventually, but I'm busy. But as far as we have seen, there really isn't any of that. So it's kind of disappointing, I guess. Maybe not necessarily disappointing. It's just I wish that they would go the extra mile. All for One is defeated really quickly. He lasts about as long as Stain. And I feel like for as big a deal as All Might made earlier in the series about All for One and hey, I failed to defeat him properly, you are going to have to. For All Might to beat him pretty quickly, it was a great fight. It was a very cool fight. It's probably one of my favorite anime fights. But it doesn't change the fact that it felt like it was supposed to be Izuku's victory and All Might took it from him. So if they don't meet up again at some point and fight, I'm just gonna feel like that was a completely wasted arc. You know how Hagoromo was telling Naruto, hey, this brothers battle thing has led to you and Sasuke, you two have to break the cycle. And Sasuke's like, oh, okay, Naruto, meet me at the Valley of the End and we're gonna fight to the death. And Naruto goes there, and then Kakashi shows up and just chops Sasuke in the neck, and that's the end of the fight? And that's it? No more Sasuke being bad? That would feel very hollow, right? Very empty. That's how I felt watching All Might beat All for One, and he's just been in prison since then. If he does not at some point break out and Deku has to fight him, I will remain upset about that. And if it happens in the manga at some point, please don't tell me in the comments. All right, I would like to see that for myself when I get there. Anyway, there's also not really a whole lot of information about One for All users before All Might, except for like a little bit about Nana Shimura and like All for One's brother, who we still don't really know that much about. I don't even think we know his name. So I would like a little bit more about that that whole chain of One for All users and exactly how One for All got evolved into what it is now, because if each user is supposed to tweak it and make it their own and make it better before they pass it along, I kind of want to know what One for All was like, because I think they said that One for All was created by the quirkless, or who we thought was quirkless brother, having the ability to pass on a quirk, but no quirk to pass on. And All for One gave him a stockpiling quirk that was supposed to let him take other quirks or something like that. So I think when those quirks combined, that's how One for All became One for All. But in my mind, I can't connect stockpiling and passing along combining into All Might. Like, I kind of want to know how it became what it is. And the season 4 finale has that, that Easter egg at the end, that post-credit scene about the previous One for All users, so I'm sure that will be elaborated upon in the future, but as of now, it's just something that I really do want to see happen. They don't spend nearly enough time in the real world post All Might, because they're supposed to, they're saying, okay, now that All Might's gone, villains are going to get, rowdy and reckless. They're going to be unruly. But we don't see too much of the real world after that. Also, just right into the provisional hero license thing. They have one episode where they try to develop 2 super moves each, and then just boom, provisional hero license. That just doesn't feel like a good order for events to take place in. I'm sorry. It kind of the arc in general lasts a little too long because it's just not as interesting as a sports festival. It's another thing they have as a stages, right? They have the combat stage and then they have the rescue stage. All of that is cool. It makes sense because, a hero does need to be able to fight and also protect and rescue people. That's very important. But just watching that wasn't very interesting. I'm sorry. I just wasn't too into that. Also, random fucking filler episode. Right in the middle of it, All Might's like, hey, Deku, I know you're in the middle of something, but come with me. We're gonna go back to school. I'm like, okay. They're kind of doing a little bit of work on Endeavor too, which is nice. I like Toga a lot. It was a very Galaxy Brain move for her to turn into another shapeshifter. That was very smart. That way people wouldn't be too suspicious when she shapeshifted. I like that. That was good. That was smart. I like Toga. I really do like Toga. I kind of wish there had been a little bit more mention of Shiketsu High before this or even after this, because of course it's these hero schools are a lot like performing arts schools, right? This kind of reminds me of Victorious. This is weird for me to say, but it reminds me of Victorious because you have these people that are in the school for art or music or acting or whatever, and they're getting gigs. They're getting a chance to show their talents at the school, or even getting roles in shows or plays or movies or whatever. And that just seems like if there were rival performing arts schools, it would be more of a topic, because it's oh man, those kids from Shiketsu Performing Arts Academy are gonna be trying to get this play or whatever, and we have to be better. You know what I'm trying to say? There should just be more mention of Shiketsu High. Beyond that, I really liked the second fight between Deku and Bakugo. It's obvious that Bakugo won because Deku was holding back, because he didn't want to destroy himself and then kill Bakugo by using 100%. But it was a very important fight between the two of them. They're probably closer now. They're better rivals. They're also tied. So they do need to fight one more time to break that tie. Deku has won the first one, Bakugo won the second one. So we'll have to see what happens if and when they ever fight again. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, the finale introduces Mirio, my favorite character. Now, it was Ida, but now it's Mirio. I love Mirio. So, overall, that's what I thought about Season 3. Alright, let's get into Season 4. I have a lot more notes. A lot more notes about Season 3. Season 4, I mean. Alright. It's a pretty nice premiere. It's pretty enjoyable. I think the big three are very, very important for the world building because, again, like if this was a performing arts school, the most talented kids at that school would probably be getting a lot of attention because, especially if this is in a setting where like these students can work at acting agencies, modeling agencies, they have record deals, like that sort of thing. That's kind of what like a work study or a provisional hero license or an internship is for these kids. Of course, the most talented students that have the most potential would be a big deal and would be highly celebrated. So I'm glad that the big three as a concept exist in the show. Unfortunately, though, right after they're introduced, Overhaul is introduced. He is lame and never fucking gets any better. On the bright side, though, I would die for Eri. I love Eri. There's a lot of implications that Overhaul is using his quirk to like break Eri down and try to see what makes her tick and then putting her back together. That's cool. That is cool. I like that. But I kind of would like to have seen a bit more of it. Not that I want to see a kid get, mutilated, of course. But I want to hate Chisaki as much as the show wants me to. Because now, as it stands, I hate Chisaki because he's lame. Not because I think he's super dastardly or shockingly twisted and evil or whatever that movie's called. It's just, I just don't think he's well developed or well written. I'm sorry. But this whole work study thing, it, like I said, it really cements that the show needs to continually be moved off campus in order for the plot to progress. And it also takes like 90% of Class 1A out of the main story. And it's really annoying because this, like the first half of the season revolves around, from 1A, it revolves around Froppy, Uraraka, Kirishima, and Midoriya. 4 of them. There are 16 other students in that class that don't do a damn thing for so long, and it's really annoying. I love Bubble Girl though. It's really the we'll get to Night Eye soon enough. There's 2 Kirishima episodes that kind of close together this season, which I like Kirishima. The show's very lucky that I like Kirishima, but it's like characters like Ojiro or Hagakure or Shoji or freaking Kaminari haven't gotten 1 episode, and he gets 2. Like, come on now, that's kind of crazy. The fat gum thing with Tamaki, where the guy gets desperate and he gives himself the drug to make his quirk better, and he fights Kirishima. That kind of stuff doesn't feel too different from what would have happened before All Might retired. So it's still not a good example of the world getting bolder and more evil now that All Might's gone. Because think about the sludge villain. This was during All Might that he decided to show up and just be a bad guy, right? So what's the difference without All Might being there? I don't know. I really don't know. I mentioned earlier that I like the big three a lot, but for some reason the show really only wants to focus on Mirio and Tamaki. I don't know why Nejire is kind of like ignored. Like she definitely has the least development out of the whole big three. She's cool. I like her, but they don't do a whole lot with her, and I'm kind of annoyed, kind of pressed about that. But ironically, this part of the season cares way more about the big three than most of Class 1A. The characters that the show is about. So that's weird. Overhaul's involvement with the cast of the show feels a little bit too circumstantial and convenient because, like that fat gum thing I mentioned earlier where they kind of just bump into that guy that has the quirk bullet, and then Mirio and Deku just bump into Eri when they're walking. It's like, I don't really like that. It feels like they should have been seeking each other out, and that's the reason that they actually cross paths. Not just, oh, I was walking in this direction and so were you. You know, it just feels kind of random. Also, I'm kind of tired of people talking smack about Mirio in this moment because he decided to hesitate and not directly pursue Overhaul right then and there. He was probably doing what Night Eye told him. And if Night Eye was trusted by All Might, who is a character that Deku looks up to more than anyone, maybe Deku did the right thing by listening to Mirio. Ever fucking think about that? Anyway, the whole storming the castle thing with the Heroes versus Overhaul feels like it lasts literally my whole life, and it's only like 5 episodes, I think. But it feels like it goes on forever. Mostly because not a whole lot that's actually interesting happens. I like the Kirishima fight against that guy. I like seeing Slim Gum. That's cool. And I like Mirio versus Overhaul. Those are the only things about that whole mini arc that I liked. Nothing else was interesting to me. I just don't understand why that had to go on for quite so long. I also didn't really think that Deku did very good hero work in this arc. Obviously, the stage was set for Deku to defeat Overhaul, right? But Mirio sacrifices a lot in this battle. Like, not only does he lose, he knows what this bullet is going to do if it hits him, but he also definitely doesn't want to let it hit Eri, so he goes ahead and he chooses to sacrifice his quirk to protect Eri. And then he proceeds to lay the fuck smack on Overhaul for like, I think in canon it's 15 minutes. That's pretty cool. He almost dies. Like, he gets really badly injured. And he can't just get rewound by Eri, you know, super magic. He just has to have these injuries. And it, you know, it's a reminder of the sacrifice he made. And I really liked that. Meanwhile, Deku straps Eri to his back, uses One For All at 100%. It takes no damage because he's being rewound. And then at the end, it's like, oh, she's rewinding him too far and it hurts. And then here comes Aizawa, the eraser quirk. I'm just like, what? You know how lame that is? That's so lame. Anyway, I didn't like the Deku Overhaul fight at all. You know, I also didn't care about Night Eye enough to initially to even remember that he existed, because I was talking to my friend and I was like, yeah, but no characters ever really died. And he's like, Night Eye. I was like, who? Oh yeah, because I didn't like Night Eye. I was not moved by his death whatsoever, because it just felt like that scene relied very heavily on Mirio and All Might caring a lot about Night Eye. And I understand them caring about Night Eye. I don't care about Night Eye. Deku shouldn't even care about Night Eye. You know, Night Eye literally was introduced as an archetype that is like, I'm going to stand in your way and I'm going to make you feel bad about getting One For All when it should have gone to Mirio. And I'm going to say something kind of controversial. It should have gone to Mirio. Even now, it should go to Mirio. Mirio probably wouldn't abuse it the way Deku's been abusing it. And I get that it's like Deku has to learn to be better. You know, like this is part of his arc. Watching him progressively be able to use more of One For All isn't really reflective of what he's been learning as a person, but more what his constant training has been doing for him. Like, he doesn't get a huge boost because of some emotional or spiritual or psychological thing that happened in his life. It's just, I've been training, so now I can use more One For All. It's just like, also, why does he even have to train to use more One For All? Like, he already had to train in order to be able to take One For All in the first place. And now he has to continue training. I don't get it. Maybe All Might's just not very good at gauging how strong you need to be to use One For All. You know? Also, Shigaraki still isn't a good villain. He's really bratty and annoying, and Dabi is too much of a blank slate for me to like either of those characters. Shigaraki and Dabi are just very low tier when it comes to anime villains. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. I don't care enough about Yoarashi or Kami to like this like remedial class filler arc thing where they go and like babysit those kids. I like what they do with Todoroki and Bakugo, but beyond that, I really thought the whole thing was like extremely lame. I didn't like it very much at all. They're doing even more work with Endeavor, which I appreciate. I will probably do an entirely separate video about Endeavor and why he should probably be higher on your favorite characters list. But that's a video for another day. Also, if the staff think that there's a traitor in their midst at UA, they shouldn't do the school festival. And I know they said this whole thing is like it's for the whole school and it shouldn't be canceled because of the trouble that Class 1A keeps getting into. But if they had this festival and the League of Villains showed up and killed all the students at UA High, it would be entirely the fault of the staff for not canceling the festival. And as we've already established, every time a big thing happens with this school, shit hits the fan. And also, the traitor thing is dropped really quickly. It's like, hey, there's a traitor here, probably. It's like, interesting. What do you guys want to do for lunch? I'm like, hey, yo, didn't you just, like, bro, like, you just changed the whole game by introducing the fact that there may be a traitor. And you just want to move on. I'm like, come on, man. I will say, though, Gentle Criminal is probably my favorite antagonist from the whole show. I really like characters that are dark reflections, like a character that represents what the main protagonist could have been had they gone down a different road because of similarities in their nature as a person or their experiences or what they've been told or what they've seen or what they've heard. That type of character is my favorite thing. Gentle Criminal was absolutely that for Deku. If Deku had just had a longer streak of bad luck, or if he'd just been told no one too many times, he could have very easily become a small-time villain. And I really liked that about Gentle Criminal. I don't like La Brava that much at all. I'm sorry. But I kind of wish that, like, instead of Deku saying, you're a lot like what I could have been, I wish the show would just let me put that together in my brain, you know? I will say, for a while I was watching the show dubbed, but as the dubbed episode stopped being available, I started watching it subbed. I don't have a preference. The only reason I was watching the dub is because Chris Sabat voices All Might, and I love Chris Sabat. And for a lot of the show, he sounded like Piccolo. I like Piccolo. Jiro, who was my favorite female character in the show, has her moment. I was very happy about that. Aries' smile almost broke my heart, and I almost cried because they gave up a lot for Aerie, and so to see it all pay off did a little bit of something to my emotions. It gave me some. Oof. That was an amazing finale. Like I said, they're doing a lot with Endeavor, and he's creeping up my favorite character list. I like the cliffhanger at the end of the season finale. Although I will say that overall, season 4 kind of dragged its heels, and it seemed to tell half of a story in what felt like twice the time. And I don't know. I feel like season 4 could have had as many episodes as season 1, and it probably would have been a lot cleaner. There was no reason for, I don't know, maybe not 13 episodes, maybe like 18 or 19, maybe 20 at the most. It didn't need to be a 25 episode season. It just really felt like it was wasting a lot of time. But that's what I thought about season 4. Now, closing thoughts about the entire show. I don't love it. I think it's okay. I kind of like it in places. Unfortunately, though, for this show, I've seen a lot of other shonen anime, and a lot of the things in the show feel somewhat generic. And what I said about the show needing to move off of the school grounds in order for the story to take place, that could even apply to Soul Eater, which I mentioned earlier. But the thing about Soul Eater is that it's different because the characters are meant to go off campus and continue their work. Like, they're supposed to get 99 Kishin souls and 1 witch soul and become a death weapon. Like, that is supposed to happen while they're still at that school, you know? It doesn't, like, it, with My Hero, they're not supposed to go to the store and fight a criminal, you know? It just kind of seems like nothing can happen at the school because, I don't know, the security is too strong. I like Hound Dog. Or, like, the plot armor is too thick or whatever. It's just, like, it feels like in order for anything to happen on the show, it needs to leave school grounds, and it's noticeable, as well as the kind of cheap and lazy animation of season 4. But this show's strongest quality is its characters. Although that being said, a lot of the characters are sidelined and never really get their time in the sun. I mean, Jiro's opportunity to be a star was a fucking concert. She hasn't done anything all that heroic yet. You know, neither has Ojiro, neither has Tokoyami, really. Neither has I don't know these characters' names, man. I'm sorry. Mineta, Ida hasn't done anything since season 2. It's just like, I don't like, it just feels like the show was trying to juggle too many characters, and then it just gave up and started focusing on a smaller central cast, which makes sense, but it also kind of hurts. You know, like, I don't know. I would just like more downtime to get to know a lot of the characters better. I would very much enjoy that. I don't think there's very good villain work on the show. I've only really liked Stain and Gentle Criminal. And the character designs are decent enough, I guess. I don't know. A lot of the characters have the same face. Like, Ochako and Izuku have the literal same face. It's kind of funny. Like, I think you could legitimately swap their faces. And if it weren't for the freckles, you probably would need a second to realize something was wrong. But, yeah, I mean, I guess all that being said, I will probably stick with the show a little bit longer. When I was watching it, I started feeling like this show might be, for this generation of kids, what Naruto was for my generation. But I don't really see it having the same level of cultural impact as Naruto, maybe as much as Bleach. Or like Sword Art, or Soul Eater, or something like that, but I don't think it's going to reach the same level as Naruto. But we'll have to see. We will have to see. Is it worthy of being considered Jump Weekly's new, like part of their new big 3? I don't know. That's not really up to me. All I can really tell you is that I think the show's all right. I don't know. I do want better though. I want much better in the future. But with all that out of the way, that's it for this time, and I'll see you guys in another video. Please don't hate me too much, all right? Because, you know, it's very hard for me to just talk about what I think about stuff without getting abused. So please don't abuse me. All right, I'll see you soon.